Talk Show, episode 2. We have a really fun episode. I think this is going to be very interesting. Hopefully, it'll be helpful for people that are trying to navigate through everything going on, and especially on the home selling side of things. We'll talk about that, so that should be interesting. Um, yeah, so you've been busy with a lot of refis, Tom?
Yeah, a lot.
Wow.
With
What is the rate right now? We'll talk about this a little later, but I'm just curious.
Gotcha. Obviously, that's a loaded question.
That is right.
A lot of variables, but most people are kind of like low threes right now, even on a
Wow.
30 year, which is pretty crazy.
Wow.
And
So yeah,
you have you ever seen rates that low in your
not this
experience?
low. Definitely the lowest that I've seen.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, so a lot of good opportunity right now. There's not too many people that I talk to that um, it doesn't make sense for them to refinance.
Mm.
So
Right.
Wow.
it's a good time. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Cool.
So
Cool. Good to think about.
Matt, it looks like you're in a studio.
Yeah, I'm in the basement.
You've been relegated to the basement.
Yeah, decided not to do the virtual background today, so yeah, I'm in the basement. We do have a little musical setup down here. We got the drum set,
Oh,
bass, got the keyboard.
I see your
Uh,
guitars behind you. So
Yeah, yeah. So we got the setup down here.
It's nice.
that's great. You got your professional microphone there.
Yeah.
Do you have anything specific that you want me to talk about?
No, just maybe just a mortgage update, and then we'll get to that. We're going to talk about a couple other things first, and then we'll come back to that. So we'll talk about maybe just what's different in the mortgage industry right now, maybe
Okay.
qualifications, how that's changed for people to qualify, and talk about the refinances, and that would be an interesting topic for people to be aware of. That
Mhm.
this is something you might want to look into right now.
Okay.
So
I just jotted down some bullet points, kind of good, the bad, the ugly right now.
yeah, it'd be great. I appreciate it.
Hey, Tom, maybe talk a little bit about, maybe you already have it on your list, about forbearance. Kind of a lot of people are thinking about that.
That's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good idea.
And we did episode 1 for those of you joining us. If you missed episode 1, it is on our Facebook page. It's on YouTube as well. We did a whole episode on how to survive and thrive financially in crisis. And so that was, I thought, a really good episode for people that maybe, if you're joining us that are having to struggle right now financially. That's a great episode to check that out. But we did talk about forbearance a little bit in that. So we'll let you talk about that later on. And that's kind of a last resort. If you can pay your bills, basically is kind of the gist of what we said. If you really have a crisis, that's okay. But if you don't want to just stop paying your bills if you have the money to pay them. It's not a good idea.
A
So
free ride.
we talked about the 4 walls of protecting your essentials, basically, making sure do that. And shelter is one of them. So you do want to pay your mortgage, pay your rent, those types of things. All right, it is 5:30. Welcome everybody. The Home Show episode 2. Matthew Haviland here with Keller Williams Realty. Mom and Dad, Linda Haviland, Dick Haviland, join us here. We have Tom Perkins, our mortgage expert, with us as well, and excited to be with you. Today's topic is going to be how to sell your home without letting anyone in. How to sell your home without letting anyone in. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun talking about this. First, before we jump in, want to just give some shout outs. We just wanted to say thank you to all the healthcare workers that are out there. We love you. We appreciate you. We're praying for you. All the people working in the assisted living communities, senior facilities, senior care workers, people working in that field. We know it's hard time for you. It's hard time for the residents that are there, the patients going through all this. So we love you. We're praying for you. One thing that we're doing for next Thursday, a week from today, is Red Day, which is the day of giving back to the community that we do worldwide with Keller Williams Realty. It's an awesome day. We had originally planned to do a day of service with Operation Safe Haven, which provides housing for homeless veterans. But we couldn't really do that work day with everything going on with social distancing. So we're doing a appreciation parade to show appreciation for the healthcare workers and also just share some love and support for the patients in the hospital. We're going to be in Galloway Township. Anyone would like to join us? Lot number 4 at Stockton University by Big Blue. We're going to meet there at 11:30 a.m. and then we're going to have a parade. We're going to go to the hospital is the plan right now. And then a couple of the assisted living communities that are along Jimmy Leeds Road. So we're going to have some encouraging notes, put some banners on the car, and we'll just have a little parade there down Jimmy Leeds Road, show some love and appreciation to all those people. We wish we could go to every place, but it's just convenient the way it works out. There's so many of them right there in Galloway that we're going to be able to hit a lot of them all at once. So that'll be next Thursday, the 14th.
Yeah,
If
14.
anybody would like to join us, they can come to Stockton University parking lot number 4. And that's where we'll be next week, 11:30 a.m. to stage cars and everything, get ready. All right, great. So I'm going to start off with a real estate market update and hand it over to you, Mom and Dad.
Okay, thanks, Matt. So basically, we want to give you a snapshot of what's going on in the real estate market in Atlantic County in the past week. And I think the numbers I'm going to share with you, you'd probably be surprised because they're probably higher than you would expect. So we look at three different things. We look at new listings, homes sold, how many, and how many homes went under contract. So in the past week, and this is Atlantic County, single family homes. So it doesn't include condos or anything else, just single family homes. So new listings in the past week, 76 new listings have come on the market. That's 76 homes, new market on the market right now in Atlantic County. In that same week, 75 homes sold. Well, now sold means that they actually closed. They had their settlement, they're done, they're closed. So that was 75. Keep in mind, though, that of these 75 homes that sold this past week, a lot of those were under contract. They were pending before the quarantine started and everything revved up with this pandemic. So these are ones that were already waiting to go to closing. Typically, when a house goes under contract, there's a due diligence period, then there's a time period for the mortgage to be processed and so on. Usually you look in 60 days, 45, 60 days, maybe 90, depending upon the situation. So of the 75 homes that sold, a lot of those were already planned to be sold before the pandemic. But this next one is really neat because these are new under contract. So in the past week, these are the number of homes in Atlantic County, single family homes, where people actually said, yes, I want to buy it. And it's reached an agreement with the seller. And that number is 47. So to me, I'm extremely encouraged by that. That shows that even though a lot of people we're confined to our homes for the most part, there's still people out there buying and selling homes. It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it is. And I just, from personal experience, I had last week 4 under contract, and so far this week 4 more under contract.
Yeah, that's great.
In a pandemic, when there's so much uncertainty, but there's still people out there that need to sell. I mean, some of the clients already sold their home and they've got to buy another house.
Yep.
There's a couple in that situation, and there's people that I think maybe some people have been sitting around in quarantine and realize we don't really like our house here, or this doesn't really meet our family needs well, and they're thinking about making a move. And unfortunately, not everybody has been financially affected by it, and many people are still able financially to make a move at this time. So yeah, that's awesome. So we're going to talk about how to sell your home without letting anyone in. So this was a question when all this started happening. I kind of put it in my head, well, is it possible to sell without letting anybody into the home? And so let me know your thoughts. We'll take it back to you, Mom and Dad. What do you think?
Yes, it's possible, right? Yeah.
So yeah,
yes.
We got a couple more people coming on Zoom with us. Welcome everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here. So the question is, all this going on, is it possible to still sell a home without letting anybody in? And let me give you a scenario of that where, let's say you have a physical you're an at-risk type person where you're susceptible to being sick. Maybe you already have some health conditions, some pre-existing conditions, and you want to sell your home or you need to sell your home. However, you don't want to let people into your house with all the circumstances going on. So the question is, could you do that without letting anybody in? And yeah, you could. So one way that we can do that is almost everybody has a smartphone. So if you don't have a smartphone, I'm sorry, but we got a lot of people have the smartphones now. So, and most people know how to take a picture with their smartphone, right? Most people even know how to take a video with their smartphone. So let's say you're a home seller and you don't want anybody in, you could take a video of your home, take each room, do the outside, do the interior, and send it to us. We can put it together into a video tour, and we can use that as a way for people to see the home without actually going inside. And then we can also, you can take your pictures on your smartphone, send it to us, and we can put it together. We can make the video nice and make sure, add some music or some audio voiceover. And so that would be one way that you could actually have people looking at your home without actually being inside. And there's so that'd be one way. So someone can actually see the home, but what about an appraisal? What about an appraisal? Tom Perkins is with us here from Union Home Mortgage. Tom, are the mortgage companies doing, what are they doing regarding appraisals now? Have you seen anything different?
Yeah. Hey, Matt, thanks for having me. One of the things that Fannie Mae has changed their guidelines to allow in many circumstances to allow exterior only inspections, to allow sometimes it's an electronic appraisal, and even appraisal waivers. So it is possible. We have many buyers right now, many customers that are refinancing that are not needing to allow appraisers to come into their homes because these opportunities have been opened up to allow alternative measures instead of an actual internal inspection.
Okay, so yeah, don't even need the appraisal, or don't even need to come inside the house for the appraisal, possibly.
And it's on a case-by-case basis, so it really depends on the transaction, but in many cases that is possible.
Tom,
Yeah.
could you explain electronic appraisals and appraisal waiver for those
Sure.
who may not know what that means?
So again, all of these are on a case-by-case basis, but for some, depending on the property and depending on when the last time an appraisal was done on that property, they may be eligible for an appraisal waiver through the agencies, through Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. And that is determined by the lender when we run the automated underwriting system. So it is an automated approval that tells us if we're able to waive the appraisal requirement on the property. And I'm finding that very often right now that is the case on many. So that would be for conventional loans, the appraisal waivers. As far as like a electronic appraisal, that is something that can be done just based on the algorithms that they use to do what's called a desktop appraisal. So it's essentially based on what else is selling in the market with the same type of bedrooms and bathrooms and that location. And if there's enough data available, that can be done to do just an electronic appraisal without having to have an appraiser actually go out to the property at all. But alternatively, if those things aren't available, in most cases, the appraiser can do essentially a drive-by, or what we're calling an exterior inspection, without having to enter the property.
Yeah, so pretty neat. It's a whole new world there with the appraisal. Normally that wouldn't happen, but now that's the way things are going. Now, what about an inspection? Because typically you're going to have buyer with a home buyer's going to want to have a home inspection, right? Well, what if the seller doesn't want anybody in and they don't even want the home inspector in? What do you do then? Any ideas? So I thought about this. Now there's some options. You could do a home warranty. A home warranty for about $500 would cover most of the systems for 1 year. So you could offer, if you're a seller, you could offer a home warranty. You could also offer a escrow at closing and say, look, we're not letting anybody in. We've got health conditions, but we'll set aside $5,000, let's say, at closing. If something comes up, there's a issue once you move into the house, you can take money out of that 5,000. So it's possible. You could even have a buyer purchase the home without even doing a home inspection. You could have the warranty in place, have maybe an escrow if depending on the condition of the house, and be able to purchase sight unseen until the final walkthrough. Now, I would say probably don't recommend that if you don't have to. I always recommend if you can physically get in the house and see it, that's going to be best. However, just in theory here, you could do it. And it would be a bit of a risk without being in it, without doing a home inspection. There's definitely a risk involved. However, for the sake of theory here, you could do it without letting anybody in. Now, one thing that we're doing a little bit differently is maybe a hybrid version of that. So maybe that's like one extreme where you're not letting anybody in. Another way we could do it, like I had a client last week, we took a listing over in Egg Harbor Township, and she has some physical conditions that she's not in good health and doesn't want to have a large number of people coming through the house. So she was comfortable allowing me to come in. So I came in, took the photos, did a video tour, and we put the video tour in directly into the multiple listing service. So instead of an agent showing the home, they can open up the video tour, they can share it with the prospective buyer. Now, if they put an offer together on the property, and if the seller agrees upon the contract, signs it, then she will allow someone to come in during the attorney review period, the buyer to come in during the attorney review period and view the house. So what that does is it cuts down on the number of people coming in the house. So rather than having 10, 20 people coming through the house, now we're talking about
Just
2,
that
3,
one
4, maybe 5, total. If maybe the inspector might come back again. So we're probably talking about 3, 4, 5 people versus 10 to 20. So that's one way we can kind of minimize on the traffic into a home and help protect the home seller in that situation.
Matt, I was thinking with the inspections, if it's a condo, there'd be possibly less risk in buying the property without an inspection. Because the association would own the roof, the siding, that kind of thing. Be less apt perhaps to have issues.
Yeah, and I think there's also an opportunity with new construction, because if someone's looking at a brand new home, no one's ever lived in it, so there hasn't been any sick people in it, and it's new. It comes with a 2-year 210 warranty, 2 years and 10 years warranty. So there could be maybe people moving towards new construction a little bit more. We'll see how that plays out, but that would certainly be an option. Yeah, so those are some ideas on still selling the home with this. Another idea that we're working on is 360 virtual tours and just kind of increasing the technology around that. So there's good technology that you can use to feel like you're in the house without actually being in the house. And I have Amira here with us. I'm going to unmute her. Thank you for joining us. Amira is my amazing processor.
Hello.
And
Hi, Amira.
Hey, Amir.
Guys.
tell me, how many transactions did you process in 2019?
I think it was about a 140.
140.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're bringing on the expert here because I wanted to just talk briefly about how the closing process has changed in light of everything going on with COVID-19. Are closings still happening? How are those getting done? And maybe you can talk to us a little bit about that.
Closings are definitely still happening. It's more just mail packages at this point, so it's a little bit less hands-on for the sellers and the buyers for both ends, because now you're asking for one side of the team not to come and the other side only mandatory for buyers to be present. So that's kind of eliminating that last touch with your lenders being more hand-on, and some of the sellers also, getting to be at the table to say goodbye to their last part of the home, or the buyers to have that enjoyment of, I just closed. So that portion of it's a little bit different, but as agents, they could capitalize on marketing, and it's a good time to just show that, hey, every step of the way, I have your hand through the process, to show like, yes, we're trying to be safe as possible, but I'm still making sure you're not missing any documents, and we're still working through the process.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's different, but we're still getting, the title companies are still doing a lot remotely, like you said, and through the mail as much as possible. And then
Yeah.
if you physically have to come into the title company to sign something, they're even taking, behind glass and things like
Yeah.
that, and in the parking lot or wherever the case is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is different, but it hasn't really, I mean, it maybe slowed things down a tiny bit, but it seems like it's come along where it's not really affecting, have you seen it? Not really any delays because of the title or because of the
Not
processing,
really
right?
delays. The only thing I suggest is to just, everyone's working from home, so it's a little bit of delay of communication is the big thing I'm seeing a difference of, whereas something that could take one phone call might take 3 or 4 emails and an extra phone call to put your hands on that person, to get in contact with them, to relay a message or double check something. But other than that, it hasn't been as bad on our end as you would think it would be, because the world hasn't really completely stopped for us in this aspect.
Yeah, you're right. And yeah, so we're usually pretty hands-on with our closings, and we're usually we call it the celebration. We'll have our sparkling cider and a little champagne cups and do a
I miss that.
toast. And we can't do that now. So,
Yeah.
that was something that I think we enjoyed doing, and our clients enjoy, just to kind of celebrate now. So now we're doing, FaceTime celebration, air high fives, yeah, congratulations. Yeah. So it's different, it's different, but the good news is we're still able to help people
Yes.
transition, move. That really hasn't, this COVID-19 hasn't really stopped that from happening. And we're just being creative and finding other ways to help people and come up with solutions that are, keep everybody safe. And that's really the goal, just, help people still, but keep everybody safe through the process. So thanks, Amira. Anything else you want to add? That was awesome.
I would just suggest stay very patient on all ends. For seller side, being patient with, documents, buyer side too, because it is like a what's going to happen or what's going on, and no one can get in touch with sometimes the title agencies for closings, for the final numbers, or lenders, because their processors are not available right away. So it's just making sure everyone's staying patient, that we're working through trying to get through the process, and it's just not as fast as an hour. I need this from title, I need that, and it's taken care of now. So it's just being a little bit more patient through the process is the biggest thing I could suggest.
Yeah, just show some grace, because everybody's, we're trying to do the best we can. It is going to maybe take a little bit longer, and the communication may not be as good as we would normally have.
Right.
However, we will get the job done, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
That's the most important part. It's going to happen. It's just giving us a little bit of patience with it.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Amira.
You're welcome.
So I got Tom here from Union Home Mortgage, and Tom's going to give us a mortgage update. So we talked about the how to sell your home without letting anyone in, and we are going to take questions when we get to the end here. So after Tom's update, we'll take questions. So stay on the line here, and if you want to post them to the comments, if you're on Zoom, or you want to just jump on and talk to us on Zoom, and we'll check the Facebook. If you're watching live on Facebook Live, leave the comment there, and I'll check. I'm going to check back while Tom's giving us the mortgage update. I'll check Facebook Live right now, see if there's any questions on there, and then we'll come back and have a little question and answer time once Tom's done. So take it away, Tom. Thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. COVID-19 has certainly thrown us a lot of curveballs in our industry, and but I believe that everyone has done a really good job at adjusting and making concessions for the circumstance that we're in. So I'll just give you real quick kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly of the situation right now. Some of the good things, every cloud has a silver lining, and there are some definitive silver linings right now with all that's happening. And one of them is, as Matt has already mentioned, that interest rates are at an all-time low. I like some background music. That's nice. Thank you, whoever did that.
Not sure who that was. I'm going to mute it.
That's the Audis.
It's the audio.
Okay,
Audis
we got
are
them muted. They're
joining us.
muted. All right, they're
Thanks
muted.
for the background music.
There they are. Oh, the Moors are here too.
But so interest rates are definitely at an all-time low in response to what is happening in the economy. And without giving you too much of an economics lesson, the Fed has been purchasing in mass mortgage-backed securities in order to drive the interest rates down and to continue to keep them low. So they are doing everything possible to keep and to make interest rates low to help stimulate the economy, because this does drive the GDP pretty significantly. So that has helped a lot of people right now to be able to reduce their monthly payments. Again, we're doing a tremendous amount of refinances right now, but it's a great opportunity for people to buy homes. If you can get a 30-year fixed rate in the low threes, that's phenomenal. So it's actually an incredible time to purchase a home for that reason. So that's one of the good things that's happening right now. Again, we talked about the appraisal adjustments that are available, so that's actually a good thing. For self-employed borrowers, one of the things that sometimes hold us up from closing is getting the transcripts from the IRS of your tax returns. But right now that is being put on hold. So we do not need IRS transcripts to actually close on the loan. So they're still requested, but we're still able to close without having those transcripts in the file. So that's great. One of the things that is available right now to people that are struggling to make their payments is the opportunity of putting your payments in forbearance. I would definitely say it is a more of a last resort. If you have the ability to make your payments and your income is not affected, it's the best idea to continue to make the payments, but forbearance is an option. One thing that people may not be aware of is the forbearance is not a forgiveness. So your payments for the next 3 or 6 months will not be forgiven. They will either be put onto the back of the loan, or they will be due at the end of that 6-month period. So a lot of people are not aware of that. So that's something to keep in mind if you wanted to request forbearance. But again, it is an option that is available with all lenders. So that's kind of some of the good things right now. Some of the not so good things are that the credit underwriting guidelines with all of the agencies have tightened. So when it comes to lending, it's all about risk. And so with all the uncertainty in the market right now, there is a greater perceived risk. And so the agencies have tightened their credit guidelines. So my advice is, if you have been shopping for a home and if you were pre-approved a month ago and maybe your approval was kind of marginal, revisit that, because you might not be approved today because of those changes in guidelines. And they're not definitive changes. They're just a general tightening of the credit guidelines. So we don't always know what it is that's going to cause a person not to be approved today. So some of the things that they're looking at a little bit more closely is debt to income ratio, is reserves. That's one of the changes right now is in many cases, you did not need reserves to close. In other words, you could have closed with your last dime in the bank, which is never a good idea. But often the guidelines allow for that. But in many cases right now, you are required to have 2 or 3 months reserves in the bank in order to close. So that can be a challenge for some people. So definitely check that out if you've gotten a pre-approval that's more than a month old.
Hey, Tom, question for you. What if you're one of the many people in our county that's been laid off? And let's say, hopefully in the next 2-3 weeks, you get hired back. So how long would you have to be employed at the, rehired in order to be able to qualify for a mortgage? Or would you be able to qualify right away?
Yeah, that's a great question. The agencies have actually been pretty flexible about the documentation. So one of the things that they are allowing is the use of unemployment income to average. So in other words, if you're an hourly employee, you've been laid off, rather than just losing that last 6 weeks, let's say, of income, we are allowed to count the unemployment income in the average. However, you do, of course, as you mentioned, Dick, you do need to be back to work. We need to be able to document that you are back to work. So whether that is just a pay stub or an employment verification from the employer to show that you are back to work. So there is not a waiting period at this point. So again,
Okay.
that can be subjective based on someone's prior history. So maybe if they weren't at their job for a short period of time and they were furloughed and now they're back, there may be a waiting period. But for most people, there's not going to be a waiting period, which is good. So I have several that are on hold right now, waiting to close, but they lost their job, and so we're waiting for them to be able to return, just be able to prove they're back to work, and then we can close. One of the other big changes right now, this is lender to lender, is different for each lender, but almost every lender has put into place minimum FICO requirements that are higher than they were 4 weeks ago. I know some lenders are at 700 minimum FICO, which is pretty significant. I know another local, very large lender is at 680. Fortunately, our minimum has only gone up to 640. But all of those floors have been raised again to try to mitigate that risk. So that is something to be aware of. If you got a pre-approval a month ago and you know that your credit score is under 640, you need to call your lender and revisit what you can do. So that's kind of the good, the not so good. Some of the ugly is that if you do have a lower FICO score at this point, if you're under maybe 680, you're going to pay. So this is your time to be punished for having a lower credit score right now, because all of the lenders have, and the agencies have made adjustments to their pricing. And if you have a good FICO score, you're going to get rewarded right now with a really good rate. But if you have a not so good FICO score, you're going to get punished a little bit in the form of higher rates or points. So that is really something to pay attention to right now. But in the big picture, it's still a really good time to buy a home.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it. Yeah, and I guess it's also interesting to see what's going to happen in the future as far as the real estate market once these restrictions are lifted. Are there going to be more buyers? Are there going to be more sellers? And I think that will be the case based on the activity level we've seen so far, and especially increase over the last couple of weeks. So this could be a good opportunity right now as a home buyer where you may be able to come in, get an extremely low rate, and maybe be able to negotiate a really good price right now because there's not as many buyers in the market. So it could be a really good time, and it might not be so good 2 months from now, even a month from now. There might be more buyers back in the market. So yeah, it's a very interesting time, and but thank you for your help in navigating through that.
Yeah, my pleasure. I think you're right on with your assessment. That's why I've been telling people as well that that the market has been so good. It's turned to be such a seller's market that I feel like there's such a great opportunity for buyers now because there's not as many that are looking to buy. So it does give them a little bit more of an edge if they're willing to, to take the step out right now and start looking.
Yeah. So we're going to have another episode, I think, in 2 weeks where we're going to be delving really deep into the home buying process and how that's different. So we're talking about the sellers this week. So we'll deal with that in about 2 weeks. Back again for episode 3. And I want to open it up to any questions that you have. We got a couple people here with us on Zoom. I'm just going to unmute you. And then if you need to mute yourself again, that's fine. But if you have any questions, we'll open that up. Any questions for us? Any questions for Tom? Any of us here?
Any questions?
Yeah, could I ask a question?
Yeah, sure. Please do.
Well, we're going to apologize because we're the technical idiots with all this background noise.
That's all right.
It's my first Zoom.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. First
right.
time on Zoom. Yay.
I know this is a lot of sales and all, but right now we deal with it obviously in the rental market. Is that going to be a similar practice if you have to show a house in a rental market, or if there's no one in there, you just go as you always have?
Well, if the property's vacant, it's not. I don't believe it's an issue. If there's somebody in it, that's where it gets tough.
Right.
Yeah, if it's vacant, it makes it a lot easier. I had a property that I rented out. We just signed a lease this week in Galloway, and actually I had the seller do a video walkthrough tour for me. So I didn't have access to it, and he was cleaning up and getting it ready and that kind of thing when the other tenant came over. So yeah, we had him do a video, and we I had like an email. So that email, when we had an inquiry, sent the email out to those prospective tenants. Here's the video tour. Here's the criteria we're looking for. Here's a little survey that you can complete as a next step. So we did kind of limit the number of potential tenants coming through with that way, and maybe save a little time as well through the process. But yeah, I mean, it would be, for vacant, it's not really. It makes it a lot easier if it's vacant. However, you still may want to limit the number of people you have coming in, even with a vacant property.
Yeah, that's what we were curious about, because now after people leave, you got to have a commercially cleaned and a certificate. There's so much stuff out there now. We're just not sure.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So we have a question, Matt, from the Moore. From the Moore family, and the question is: are estate sales up due to corona deaths? I haven't seen that. Have you, Matt?
Not yet, but I could see that potentially being a problem, or being the case. I know. I thought I heard a statistic that it was 40% of the deaths in New Jersey were in assisted living communities. Have you heard that? Something like that.
Yep.
Something like that.
Yeah.
40%.
Yeah, 37%.
37%, which is a huge number. Now, those people probably don't have a home already. If you're already in an assisted living community, likely, most people end up selling their home as part of that transition process, moving into assisted living or nursing home or whatever the case may be, or maybe they never had a home to begin with. So those people probably not. I don't see that being increasing estate sales. But however, there could be some other, potential seniors that have passed that would be. Yeah, so it's a little too early I would say maybe a little too early to say, but I could see that potentially being something that would be perhaps more increased. What do you think? Down the road, it might take a couple months before we start seeing that, but that's.
Yeah, I think it's going to take a while, because anybody that died from the virus, that was pretty sudden. So it's not like they were preparing to sell their house, or they knew Uncle Bob was going to die or something. It's. I think it's going to take some time, but there'll be some, I'm sure.
Yeah. Any other questions? I'm just going to check and see if we have any questions on Facebook Live. I don't think so. So, all right, just checking here. Yeah, I don't think we have any questions.
Thank you. You're doing good on the Zoom there.
Board with us.
Thank you.
Good. All right. Well, it's great to connect with everybody this way. And we are going to have, like I said, in 2 weeks will be another episode 3. We're going to be talking about buying a home in light of everything going on. So we'll focus on that. Yeah. Appreciate everybody's support. And please, if you have any other questions, if you're watching this on Facebook Live, or you're watching this tomorrow or down next week or whatever, leave your comment there for us. If you're watching on Facebook, leave a comment if you have any questions, or contact us. We'd be glad to help. And like I said, we are here helping people sell and buy homes, navigating through this, doing the best we can. And the good news is that things are still happening. We're still getting deals done. We still have people that are looking to buy and sell, and this can be a great opportunity to sell and a great opportunity to buy right now. So thanks everybody for joining us. Everybody stay safe, stay well. Have a great night.
Thank you. Thank you
Good
very much for having us.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Amira. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Take care.